Happy Earth Day to you guys. Guys, welcome to the show. This is episode number 35. Let me know if you can hear this, and if you can, hang on, let me turn this off. I know, hang on, there's a bunch of people on. Guys, welcome to the show. I appreciate you guys being here and supporting the show and supporting me. And hang on, let me say quick. All right, guys. All right, we're running the contest. We're giving away a free copy, maybe two, to the person that's most engaging right here on LinkedIn on this live during the show. So comment where you're listening from. And there's a bunch of people like already commented that from Miami, from Detroit, Atlanta, Philippines. I love this. Texas. Good morning, guys. Connecticut. Guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to Hospitality Live with me, Rupesh. And guess what? I have a list. So, all right. So I already said comment where you're listening from and watching from, and we're giving away a free book. And this episode is definitely sponsored by Hotel Effectiveness and their Perfect Labor platform. We've been using it. It's been helping us as we remain open to make sure that our payroll is in line, because guess what? We don't want surprises at the end of the week saying, oh my God, how do we get this much payroll for housekeeping when they should have been 30 or 25 minutes a room, or for stayovers, 18, 19, 20 minutes a room, or maybe even 15 minutes, depending on your hotel, right? So Perfect Labor helps you watch those live, right? As they're coming in and as they're clocking in and clocking out, and your PMS gets, or your data gets uploaded from your PMS into the Perfect Labor platform. You understand that there is no surprises at the end of the week with overtime. And thank you so much to Perfect Labor for sponsoring this show. And on with the show. All right, so we talk about keeping a great mindset, staying positive, which I have been. And, there has been some times in the last couple of weeks where I'm like, you know what, why am I doing this? Why am I the person that feels that I'm not being productive, or I just feel like I'm not myself? And it's been like that for a week. And then last week I had to kick myself in the butt and say, listen, get back up. So almost every single day this week, I've been active and I have been working out. So even this morning, I woke up at 6. I set my alarm because, in the last couple of weeks, I haven't set alarm. I've been waking up around 6, 6:30 maybe, and maybe even 7, pushing it, right? And, in the past, I would wake up at 4:15 every single morning and go hit the gym. And now the gyms are closed. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start setting my alarm and waking up, because if you don't, guess what? You get into that rut. You get into where you don't want to go. And so, yeah, I've been starting to set my alarm, waking up and running. And this morning, I think I ran like 3.25, 3 miles and a quarter, 3.25 mile. And I feel great, right? I have a lot of energy, and I wouldn't have done that. I would have felt bad about myself. And you've probably noticed that in the last couple of weeks, like, oh, this guy doesn't look the same, and he doesn't have the energy, right? And so I had to get back on. So, guys, get out there, get a little bit of exercise, get out of that depression mode that you might get yourself into, because it's valuable. And music keeps me going. And I posted about this week. All my life, I've had music to lean on when things have been tough for me, when things have been rough for me, when I've been going through something, relationships in the past, just anything that's happening in your life. Usually music gets me through it. And I'm not sure if music gets you through it. I would like to hear in the comments if music gets you through a lot of things. You remember when you were a kid, or maybe you're a teenager, or you're in high school or in college, you fell in love with that one person over a summer, or you had that relationship over a summer, and that one song that you still remember to this day, because of music, right? So those music brings a lot of great things to your life, and right now we lean on it, right? It's great memory. So if you could pick a song or a few songs, it's amazing to kind of have that as something that keeps you going, because it keeps me going. So every single day, I listen to music. I listen, even before the show, I had one of my favorite music podcasts on that I listen to weekly, and I've been doing that for a long time, right? Look next to me, I have my old DJ stuff that I still mess around with once in a while, right? And I still have the new stuff too, right? I love music. I play drums. Even now, I got my son into playing drums, and it's just amazing that you can keep yourself going with this other thing, right? And so everyone should have a hobby, right? Everyone should have something that they can lean on. And music, for me, it's music. And guys, I'm seeing a bunch of people saying it gets you out of depression. Absolutely. Music gets you going. And that's one thing I did not cancel or pause at my hotel. Guess what it was? It was the music subscription that we pay for monthly, right? In our hotel lobby. I was like, you know what? No, I don't care. I'll cancel everything else and I'll pause everything else, but I am not pausing music. And because guess what? When people walk into a hotel and there's music instead of just quiet, you feel good, right? You feel like, oh, there's life still happening in this hotel. And I love that idea that music can keep us going. So guys, thank you so much for that. And thanks so much for posting on your favorite show. So go back to a past few comments. If you just go to rupesh.co, that goes directly to my LinkedIn profile. And you'll see that I posted like, hey, what's your favorite song? And it was just great to see all these people like, hey, you know what? Music also has helped me. And so, guys, thank you so much for that. And guys, thank you so much for just supporting me here on LinkedIn and the show, because it's been valuable. It's been really valuable that you are keeping me inspired, because not only when you like and comment, you keep me going, because there's days I'm like, nobody cares about this stuff. Nobody cares about what I'm sharing. And it's that imposter syndrome that gets you once in a while. It gets you often, right? Even when times were good, you were always like, why am I the GM of this property? Or why am I this one person? And guys, I appreciate it. So thanks so much for hitting the like button and supporting me here on this, because it's valuable when you have a community around you. And I think it's valuable. All right. So this past week, or last Friday, I actually posted 51 things you can do right now as a hotel manager. And did anybody get that checklist? And if you did, hit the comments and let me know what you thought about that checklist and what's one thing that you're going to start on that checklist, right? Because there's 51 things. And guess what? Though a lot of these things you can do right now. And a lot of these things that you could do when you're open, but it's valuable when you get started. So if you need that checklist from me about the 51 things, send me a direct message after the show, and I will directly send you the link to that PDF that you can download and print. And I was trying to print it out this morning, and my printer messed up, and I couldn't print it. So I was going to show it to you, but hey, we'll get to it. All right. Another thing I wanted to hit, I wrote down, here's my list of notes that I just started, or that I made the last day or so, and I really worked on it this morning. I am coming out with mini courses on marketing for your hotel and yourself, as personal branding, hotel marketing, a lot of things. Leadership is a big thing. And I am also I'm going to be teaching a mini course on service excellence, right? So let me know if you're interested in this. It's going to be simple mini courses that are going to keep you going. And this is all a part of the coming soon of my brand new website that's going to have hopefully launch here in the next couple of weeks. But I'm super excited about that. So guys, thank you so much to all. And there's a bunch of people that said I reviewed the checklist. Yes, I got it. Over 500 people have downloaded it, or not downloaded, but sent me a direct message in the last week saying, thank you so much. I need that checklist. Send it to me. So guys, I will send it to you if you just send me a direct message after the show. All right. Now, I am super excited about this, and I've been following this guy for quite some time. And, 3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, he sent me a message. Hey, I want to connect with you on LinkedIn, and I love what you're doing here on LinkedIn. And I was like, yeah, let's connect. And so I've been following him, and we've just been connecting. And I've seen that he's done a lot of things, and his book came out, and I was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And I wanted to bring him on, so I sent a message to him. And guess what? He's a part of other things too that we'll talk about. All right. So our featured guest, and I don't want to mess this up, our featured guest for today, and the topic is welcome back, how to reopen your hotel, right? I'm excited about that. We're all ready to reopen our hotels. We're all ready to get back to work. Our featured guest today is Charles Ryan Minton. He's a best-selling author and hotel general manager. So he's a hotel general manager right now for the Fort Lauderdale Marriott North. I'm going to welcome him right now to the show. Hey, Charles.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, there's a lot of people online, and they thank you because they're excited about this. They're excited to open their hotel back up. And guess what? If their hotel's already open, which a lot of people, in most cases, their hotel is open, they're ready to take some of these steps into bringing their team back. They're bringing their guests back. And so we're going to talk about these things today. And we also want to know, what did you do that when you started at a hotel, when it was at the bottom 25th of the percentile in the overall rankings of a Marriott group, and you brought it to the top 3%. We're going to talk more about that. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Rupesh. Appreciate it.
Hey, tell us about yourself and tell us kind of how you got started in hotels.
Well, I started at the front desk. I was very fortunate. I was hired as a front desk manager with no experience in the hotel business. Had an awesome mentor, Brian Perkins, and hired me. Was very big into hiring for talent, not necessarily experience, which I definitely embrace. And so I started at the front desk and just worked my way up through the industry. And I've worked in several departments at this point, most of all of them, and even took a break from hotels for a couple of years. I worked in private aviation, and now back in the hotel industry and loving every minute of it.
That's awesome. Now, tell us about your hotel, the current situation of your hotel right now.
So I'm at the Fort Lauderdale Marriott North, and we made a business decision about a month ago to close the doors, which was obviously very difficult. We were fortunate to be able to furlough our employees. Not a great situation, but at least we were able to offer them that opportunity to continue to collect their benefits. And that way, when we're ready to open back up, we can bring them right back in. So we've been closed for about a month now, very limited staff. It's myself, my director of sales, who's watching, Juan, and my chief engineer, Oscar, and my controller, Robin. Those are the four of us that are here in this big empty building right now.
So what have you been doing? Because I know we talked about this yesterday. You guys have just been taking shifts, and you're closed, so there's nothing to do. But there is a ton of things to do, right? And we kind of went over some of those things yesterday. Please share what you're doing for your closed hotel right now. How are you staying busy? How are you staying active?
You know, it sounds funny, but I'm probably busier than I ever have been. There's just a lot that still has to happen in the building, and to be ready for when we reopen, which we're all very hopeful will be soon. And, obviously the sales process is still happening into the future. So Juan is taking the lead on that, and we're still getting leads, which is great for third, fourth quarter into next year. You think about just that effort alone is typically 5-6 people. And right now it's one. So he's probably more busy than ever. The building itself has to be maintained still. It has to be operated. So between the four of us, one of us is always here from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 days a week. We obviously have security as well. But one of the things that I think is most interesting that most people probably wouldn't think about until you actually have to do it, but you have to keep the water running and you have to keep it flowing through the building. And so we have a schedule where we have to flush all 316 toilets on a regular basis. So
why is that? Why do
it's important just for the health of the water, obviously, to be continually flowing so that it's not sitting, so you don't have bacteria and things like that grow. Mm-hmm. You need to exercise the equipment. It has to keep going so that you don't have maintenance issues when you do reopen. Because if you think about it, you don't use any of this stuff for a month or weeks, and then all of a sudden you have an influx of people that just start using the equipment and the plumbing and the water and all the different things that are in the hotel. It can cause immediate strain. So we all take turns in that. The four of us, we all pull a weekend shift where we're here, and we walk the floors, and we flush the toilets, and we run the showers, and we run the sinks. We go in the kitchen, turn all the equipment on just to keep things going. You have to check the boilers every day, check the chillers, just a whole checklist of things to make sure that the buildings operate. Because think about it, typically have at this hotel a staff of 130 people. And that's 130 sets of eyes throughout the building that are seeing and maintaining things and can report safety issues, maintenance issues. Well, those eyes are gone. So we have to be intentional about walking every space of the building, or else it could go unnoticed.
Right. And yesterday we talked about, you have 17 floors. Is that correct?
Right.
17 floors. And have you shut down any floors, or is it just still open and kind of lights are turned, like everything's turned off in the room, everything's unplugged, or what's going on?
Right. So we went through, we set all the temperatures the same throughout the hotel.
What was the temperature? What's the temperature you set?
So we're at 73. We're in South Florida, so we have to be careful with obviously moisture and things like that. We pull all the drapes on all.
I think you're frozen. Hang on a second. I think you're frozen. Oh, I think you're frozen. Hang on a second. Hang on. I want to make sure that we get him back. Guys, stand by. Hang on a second. I think he got frozen. His line might be, hang on a second. Hey, Charles, call back if you can hear us. Call back. Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I promise we paid the internet bill at least.
Hey, listen, I have a tip for the internet for Spectrum Business. They actually called and said, "Hey, we're going to give you," and this is what they told us for our hotels here in Central Florida. They said, "We're going to give you 50% off of 3 months." So for us, we have internet, cable, and phone with Spectrum Internet. And I want to thank them because they didn't have to do that. They gave us 50% off, or if your hotel's closed, they were going to pause your entire bill, which is awesome. That's thousands of dollars. So guys, shout out to Spectrum. They're not a sponsor or anything, but I just wanted to thank them because listen, we're all struggling through this. And Ryan, or Charles, you allowed me to call you Ryan because a lot of people call you Ryan and you go by Ryan. So I might go back and forth between Ryan and Charles.
I answer to both.
All right, Charles. All right, so sorry for the delay, but all right. So continue what we were talking about.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we obviously did to prepare the building for the closure, including what I mentioned on the floors. I don't know how much came through, but we have all the drapes closed in the hotel or in the rooms. We have the lights turned out, the doors are open so that we can pop in and out and see things quickly. Turn the water on, turn it off, flush the toilets. Obviously, all the fitness center equipment is turned off. The pool equipment is turned off. There's a whole host of things that we did to try to be more efficient. Obviously, while we're closed.
Right. And so, do you have a list of everything you've shut down so that way when you go back to we can get the green light, or we can go back to that checklist, and we're like, not on opening day, we're like, oh, we forgot to turn the pool heater up, or we forgot to do this.
Yeah, we have recorded everything. We have some great checklists that we follow, and we know exactly what we're going to need to do and how quickly we need to do it to get everything back up and running. And I think that's important.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's isn't it scary to kind of walk the halls by yourself? And are the lights off right now, or are you just kind of using a flashlight?
Yeah, the lights are on in the hallways. There's obviously lights out in certain parts of the hotel, the restaurant, the lobby areas, some of the lobby areas. But yeah, I've had some people joke with me, is it anything like The Shining? Everyone has seen that. And it's odd. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's definitely, there are moments when you're walking around and you hear something creak or crack and it gets your attention if you're expecting it.
Would you guys freak out if you're the only person in the hotel and you're walking like 300 rooms or a couple hundred rooms and you're like, this is the middle of the night or at night in the dark and you're like, freaking out?
I had a moment right when we closed. I was on the floors by myself and I was coming around the corner, and one of the things that we did was turn off all the ice machines on the floor. And so obviously they need to defrost once they're turned off. And this had just happened. And in my mindset was that they were already turned off. So I'm coming around the corner and a block of ice dropped into the tray of the ice machine. And I literally lost my mind because it scared me so bad because I didn't know what it was exactly. It scared me to death. And I just stood there frozen in the hallway for a second until it registered. Okay, that was the ice machine.
Did you scream? I would have screamed like my little kid.
I might have yelled. I'll admit, I might have yelled a little bit.
It's scary. I've been there where you're like, You're like, is there somebody that's hiding in this room, down this hallway? All right, so you leave all your doors open so it's easier to get into, and you're not like walking back and forth if the key's not working or door's not working. How do you keep them open? How do you keep these doors, ajar?
We just have them open with the deadbolt. It's just
okay.
to do it. And that way we're not doing any wear and tear on any furniture. Or, we didn't have to go out and purchase 316 door stops. But, we all know the guests use that anyway. So, so we just have the deadbolt popped.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, it's so important to do that. I would remind people, because if you're not, exercising the locks as often as you normally would, a battery might die. And so that's another reason why you should have your doors open, because if the battery dies, it's a whole process, obviously, to get the door open. Yeah.
All right. So you're the general manager. You have a limited, really skeletal staff there, and you're trying to get things done. You're waiting till you get the green light to open up your doors. We're kind of you're hearing some good news about maybe your state or your city might open up. And this is the time for us to plan how to open up and what to look for. And so this is a conversation that I wanted to bring you on because you have some great insight. And we have a list here that we can kind of go over and talk about it. But you're a best-selling author too, so I want to talk about that and what you do. But all right, so what is the first thing as we prepare to open up to do?
Wow, there's a lot to do, but you almost really, my mindset, I'm looking at this as if we're opening a new hotel. Obviously, we've been here for many, many years, but perhaps a silver lining in some of this for those of us who've closed is we do have the opportunity to reset. And so we're going to use this as an opportunity to relaunch as a new hotel. And what I mean by that is bringing everyone in for an orientation to talk about what our expectations are going to be going forward. What are the guest expectations? We all know the guest expectations are going to be even higher than they ever have been in terms of cleanliness and service. So, and I think it's going to be a way more competitive environment because of that. Guests are going to look for the hotels that are providing the best service and the standards that they're going to feel comfortable staying in. So we're going to have a big kickoff. We're going to have a rally. We're going to have a big, exciting orientation to bring everybody back when we get that green light. And look, it's probably not going to happen where the faucet just turns on and all of a sudden we're at 70, 80%. It's going to be so. My hope is, and there's a lot of moving parts, but my hope is to be able to bring everybody back for at least an orientation to kick things off, get people excited, and slowly phase folks in as occupancy allows for it.
Right. So have you furloughed everybody, or is it just have you laid people off in furlough, or is it just furlough?
All furloughs, which I was very thankful that our ownership and our company allowed us to do that.
Awesome. So a lot of hotels right now, a lot of owners, and the ownership has applied for these loans, and it's taking a long time. And thankfully that the Congress has reestablished more funding for the small business owners, which myself included. We're just waiting to get this PPP loan to bring people back on and really maybe start on some projects and maybe do some deep cleaning. And this is one of the things that you can do to use your PPP, so you get that taking care of it. It's kind of like a forgiveness, right? And bringing people back. And I wrote down training, right, as like probably one of the top things when you're bringing people back. Kind of talk about what you're going to do when you have people in this room, and what are you going to talk about? So maybe what are the top 5 things that you want to talk about?
Well, I think there's got to be a human element right out of the gates, acknowledging that this is a tough time and that what we just went through with the furlough and the closure of the hotel was so difficult. I mean, for me, that's obviously, and I know people that are watching, that has been the hardest thing this has just impacted so many lives in terms of our employees and their families. And so just acknowledging that sincerely, I'm so glad that they're back will be probably the first thing that we talk about. And then just moving forward, what's our plan in terms of how we're going to be the best in the market in terms of customer service, cleanliness, quality, standards. I want the Fort Lauderdale Marriott North to be the go-to hotel in the market for all of those things. And I want to get everybody on board for that. So we'll be talking a lot about that. And as you mentioned, there's opportunity projects. I hope we have time with, if we are fortunate enough to get that loan you're mentioning, to get the hotel clean and ready and deep clean, and do some of those things that sometimes just occupancy gets in the way of, so that when we do start to welcome folks back, it's clean, shiny, ready to go. But there's so many things that we're going to want to address in that kickoff meeting. But by far the biggest thing is going to be just setting the tone and the energy and excitement that we're open and we're ready to go again.
Yeah, and I think that bringing people together is awesome. And then I also think that we talk about what happened. Maybe bring experiences like what were you doing the last month, especially if you were closed and you weren't working? What happened to your family members? Like, was there any struggles that you went through, so you can all feel together? Because guess what? One person might think that they were living the lap of luxury, when the other person might be thinking that, hey, they were struggling. They had to they had to go to the food bank to get food, right? And so if we don't share these stories of understanding where people are coming from, then you don't understand their background. You don't understand like why they came to work this way. As we start getting our team back together.
One of the things, Rupesh, I've been so touched by during this is when I do reach out to employees. One of the things you talked about earlier, what are some of the things I'm doing? A big thing I'm doing, a lot of my time is HR related, payroll. Obviously, we fortunately don't have our HR director. So I like that because it's giving me the ability to connect with our associates. And what I've been touched by is them asking me how I'm doing. It's just beyond me, because these folks are out of work, have every reason to be frustrated potentially, that I'm not. And I've just been so touched by that when I talk to them and they're just asking, how are you doing? You doing okay? There's just been a real human element to this. It's been so refreshing for me.
Yeah, I agree. I everyone has this emotion that it's not no one has left emotion in the background, right? It's out there. Everyone feels that something's happened to them, right? No matter what kind of person you are, you can be a billionaire, you could be the first person. You all have these feelings. We're all pretty much in this together. You might have different. You might be living in a different house. You might be living a different lifestyle or whatever, but you're all feeling emotion, right? Which I feel like we all kind of need to talk about it, right? And get it out there. And I think empathy is a huge part of it, like understanding them, and then really understanding like how they're feeling, not just saying, oh, let's talk about it, but understanding how they actually feel, and then understanding it, right? Not just listening, but really kind of being empathetic about it. All right. So I talked about what I wrote on my list was, we definitely need to bring them back and have an orientation and communicate with them, right? There's a lot of communication back and forth. So hopefully you've been texting back or sending emails out to your staff to kind of keep in touch, and maybe even a call if you had to, and really thanking them for sticking through this, because it's tough to be at home if you're been laid off, or if you're working, it's tough that you can only work 8 hours this week or 4 hours this week, or some of those things. So as GMs and leaders, I think it's a great opportunity for us to have that line of communication going. And then also during your training, I think there's some opportunity for cross training, which is huge, right? When you might be limited in occupancy, and maybe that front desk person can help out in the F&B side, or banquets, or in housekeeping. I think it's helpful, or even maintenance, right? There's a lot of things that you'll learn if you're the front desk agent or an associate in different departments, that you'll learn, oh, I was selling rooms all these years and I never walked into these different room types and actually understood what they look like, or worked in housekeeping and I didn't understand how hard it was, right? We've all been there because we've cleaned these rooms. We've been in there cleaning these rooms and we've done the laundry, but it'd be awesome for us to cross train our team, right? Do you agree?
Oh yeah, I think it's already happening. I mean, you read these posts and you see. Actually, I just talked to a counterpart GM within our company at our Renaissance here in Boca, South Florida, and he sent me a picture. He was set up at the communal table in the lobby of the hotel. This is a full service hotel. And he's set up in the lobby. He says, I'm front desk today. I'm accounting. I'm answering the phones. I mean, he's doing it all. So for at least the interim, that's going to be the new normal. I think there's probably every hotel right now. You walk in, the front desk agent is probably responsible for checking on the public restrooms, and they're probably ringing up to-go orders. I mean, we're all doing things that we typically wouldn't do just to keep the service there and to keep things going. So yeah, cross training is, I think, going to sure.
Yeah, and then the other thing I could think about is service excellence training. Like, how do you kind of refresh everybody on, here are the things to engage guests when they come in, here's how to do it, right? Keeping our distance, and here are the new norms that we're going to be going through while we go through this, right? I think that service training is huge, because we didn't have time for it in the past. Many hotels didn't have time for service training, and they kind of just left it on the back burner. Yeah, I'll do it. And then they put it to next month. I'll do it later, and we'll get people together. This is a great time. If you can bring people back, you have that loan that's going to help you afford to bring people back and train them. Service training is huge. Like, get them on board, get them to understand, like, the 5 people that are checking in or the 30 people that are checking in today. How do you make them feel really good that they picked your hotel? And that's all through training. That's all through engagement. That's all through, like, human connection, like we talked about.
Yeah, and I think what I'm feeling is that from some of my employees is that one of the biggest things they're missing right now is that guest interaction. And I think when we do reopen, or when we start to get back to normal levels, this pause has really caused people to have an opportunity to think about what they really loved about working in hospitality. And so I think that is going to be really cool as we welcome folks back, that our team is going to be able to genuinely communicate that appreciation for the guests. But something you said as well in terms of service training is it's huge to have that out of the gates. It's one of the things I talk about all the time when I speak and in the book is it's so important to communicate what your service basics are. What are your basic expectations of service? And one of the things that I have in our hotel that I've brought with me everywhere, and I know a lot of hotels do this, but if you haven't, and this is a great time to do it, because there's, like you said, there's time, right? There's time to do things maybe.
Yeah.
And this service basics card, literally they carry around their wallet. I think I have one here nearby, is really like a service pledge. And this is something we just recently did when I've only been at this hotel for 2 months. We're going to do it again. There's a huge poster in the back hall with this blown up. Everybody signs it. But whenever I talk to different service, when I talk to different companies that are looking to elevate their service, one of the first questions I ask is, what are your service basics? And if they can't answer that, that's the starting point. Do your employees know that it's an expectation that within 20 feet, they're making some type of eye contact? Within 10 feet, they're having some type of exchange verbally with the guest. You have to have those baseline expectations. So this is an awesome opportunity to roll those out as folks start to come back online, and hand it to them and sit down with them and go through it line by line and say, hey, look, these are the expectations that we have in terms of service going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, welcome to everybody that's on the show. I appreciate you guys joining us from all over the world, which I love. Charles, they're here to see you and here to listen to all these great tips, because I think
I don't know. I think we're here to see you, buddy.
Huh?
We're here to see you.
We're doing it together. It's a team effort. Listen, I think there should. All right. So listen, we're giving away Charles, will you sign a few books?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. I've got some copies here. I'll send hardbacks, because I've got hardback and paperback, and I'm a big fan of the hardback. So we'll do a couple of those.
Awesome. So guys, before the end of the show, we're going to announce, so the most engaging person, so comment where you're listening from, comment where you're watching from, and also comment what's one thing that you're going to do to reopen your hotel. It doesn't have to be everything. What's one thing that you're going to focus on right now to reopen your hotel, re-engage your hotel, and to welcome your associates back first and your guests right after that. Comment so you can be one of the winners. We're gonna pick two. Is that okay?
2, 3.
3. Wow. All right, 3. We're gonna give away 3 signed books of Charles's book. All right, let's continue the conversation. People are saying free book, yes. And Lord is saying, hey, great information. People are loving this. So, all right, let's continue the conversation. All right, so we've brought them in, we've trained them, we have. Let me see. We're going to talk about some other things we're going to talk about. All right, so first one is the impression, right? The first thing that you want to do is make a great impression. So your first impression matters to associates, right? And that's doing the training. What else?
Yeah, I always say you got to get the first day right. And a lot of us are going to have first days all over again, bring these folks back. And so don't drop the ball on that. I read a stat recently. I forget where I saw it, but roughly half the people that left their job last year did it in the first 90 days. And my take on that is you're so excited to come to work, you got a job, you get there, and then you realize this sucks, and you leave. So I think it's so important to have that first day be such a great first impression of what you're about, what your hotel's about, what you're about. And set that standard. So that's what I think is critical is you get that first day right and you get the first 90 days right. And with this whole situation that we're in now, everybody's going to have a first day again. And so let's do that right. Let's have fun with it. Let's set the expectations, and let's get it right out of the gates.
Right. Number 2 is don't be a jackass. And yeah. I really appreciate this comment. I really. What do we mean? What do we mean by don't be a jackass?
Don't be a jackass. Gosh, I think it's the most important point.
And by the way, does everyone agree with this, right?
So let me ask you this question. Do you remember your first boss? What was your first job?
All right. So one of my first few jobs was, and my background is design, marketing. I did e-commerce stuff. I did production and all these things. One of my first jobs was at General Electric Power System back in the day, where I got laid off, right? And I went through the whole process of unemployment. But when I first started, there was a guy there. I'm not going to say his name. I actually don't even remember his name. But he was a jerk. Like, he yelled at people. He berated people. He thought he was the only person that could get stuff done. And he would force you to do things like right away. Like, where's my stuff? Where's this? Why are you? And he was yelling at all of us instead of like understanding how we're feeling. And I'm young. I was like in my early 20s, right? And I was like, oh my God, this guy's a jerk. And and I still remember this guy. And I never wanted to be that. I was like, if I'm ever the leader at a business, I'm never going to be that way, because I felt like I wanted to quit every single day. And guys, have you been there before? Have you ever felt that way? Or you're feeling it right now and you don't want to work for somebody, and you don't want to be that person either. Let me know if you, in the comments, if you ever felt that way. Have you?
So, and I asked that question because I think we all remember our first, and a lot of us have good stories. A lot of us have just similar stories to yours, not great. And I asked the question because I think it's a good reminder that we need to remind ourselves as leaders that we are impacting people and their day. And so you may not be someone's first boss, but you do have the opportunity to be the example of a great leader, potentially for the first time for folks. In this industry, we have a lot of folks that are in school or out of college or new into the workforce. And you may be their first boss, but you definitely may be the first opportunity they have to see what a great leader looks like. And in my book, one of the things that I include is my list of leadership expectations that I share with my entire leadership team every time I take on a new hotel or I get a new leader. And we walk through these expectations. And one of them is I really believe that when you become a leader, whether it's a department supervisor or a lead all the way up to the GM, the regional, all the way up, if you've got some level of leadership in your title, I believe you lose some basic rights. And probably the biggest right that you lose, in my opinion, is you no longer get to have a bad day. You don't. And so I tell my team that. And what I mean by that is, we all know we are going to have bad days. We're going to leave the house frustrated because someone let the dog out and they got away, or, something crazy happened on the way to work that was frustrating. But the minute you walk in that hotel, you're on. And we've all worked for that guy or gal who wears their emotions on their sleeves, and everybody's walking on eggshells around them that day because they're in a bad mood. And that's not fair. That's not fair to our team members. And so I always say to our leadership team, hey, if you're having a bad day, come in here, we'll shut the door, we'll hash it out. But man, the minute we go back out in that building, we're on, we're smiling, we're energetic, because your team is going to feed off of that, regardless whether you like it or not. And it's all going to translate into the experience of the guest. And so today's environment, especially, I just don't think you can afford to be a jerk. And so don't be one.
Exactly. And, they always say leaders show and bosses tell, right? And there's a big difference there. And if you haven't understood that, kind of think about it, because it's big when you can show people, like, instead of just saying, go clean that, let me show you exactly what you to do. Because then there's expectations behind it. There's ways of teaching that, hey, if I'm going to get down on my knees and if I'm going to get down on the floor behind the toilet and show you that, this is how to clean, guess what? They appreciate you more than just say, go clean that toilet because you didn't do it right. Right. And that goes down to every single person at your hotel. And I believe that. So don't be that, what? Jackass.
Don't be a jackass.
I love that. Guys, comment if you agree. And all right, so the next one is, and let me just go back. I have tons of notes on this. All right. Don't be that jackass. All right. So there's also
treat your employees like customers.
Treat your employees like customers. What does that mean?
So one of the main things I mean by that, I think it's obvious on surface what it means, but one of the things I like to focus on this is we all are in the business of meeting the needs of our customers, meeting the needs of our guests. And we will go to great lengths to do whatever we need to do. So I think you have to take that same mentality, apply it to employee and to the employee experience. Specifically, I know you know this. One of the biggest things that causes a lack of job. And so one of my favorite stories, and some people might have that are watching, is about the mop list. So there's this story that the hotel, that the employees had grown so disengaged that they were looking to use. So they brought in, obviously, third party to what's on here, fix this. And as they started to peel back the layers, they found out that it literally went all the way back to long-term house public space attendant who had requested from the housekeeper mop. And this particular month, the GM had cutting back expenses, not spending any money. So as that filtered down through departments, the housekeeping manager said, sorry, we can't get a mop this month. And we all know how much a mop costs. A few bucks, right? So that the very tool that person needs to do their job. And I really believe that when right people spend a whole show on it.
Yeah.
But if you hire the right person, whether we like it or not, we have to admit to ourselves, they're not coming in to make you, not coming into work because they're so excited. Coming in because they are service minded, they have a heart for hospitality, like the way it makes them feel. It's their reputation. So you're not providing them with tools that they need. That's impacting their reputation. You're putting them in a moment where they are having service failure. That reflects on them personally. I don't like that. So they're going to go down the road. And in our environment, even before this happened, people will go to another job down the road for a quarter and a half.
So, or less sometimes.
Exactly. And so it's so crucial that you provide the tools that folks need to be. I ask my leadership team as soon as I start a new, put together your mop. What's on your mop list? What are your employees asking? And then we pull that out every month. Say, hey, what's on your department mop? And I will always say this, because whenever I share this story with speak or consult, someone will say, oh, I don't want to open up that can of worms. It's dollars. And it's not. It's always, I'm always surprised when people tell me it's things like, I'd like to have an extra uniform to do line. Or, hey, we really need extra napkins. Care for the day a little bit strong. Also, vacuum cleaner always on. My goodness, why do we not give house good vacuum? These are not things that add up to thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're always things that employees genuinely need just to do a good job. So, which ultimately is helping them provide good service, which at the end of the day is what we. So, exactly. I always talk about this month start to try to chip away at that.
Yeah, man, I love that, because there's a lot of things that we need to do, and I love that you're saying a huge, like, ever since hotels have been open, they need vacuums. Or, I've had creative house pass where name on it. I'm going to put I'm going to write in a Sharpie. This is mine. Whatever, and they really take up. Their vacuum, they take care of it. But when it breaks, and they bring it to us as ownership or GMs, like, oh, we'll get it next. We'll get it in 6 months budget. Right? So one of my 51 things to do right now is actually, one of those things is to optimize your vacuums, clean them, get them ready to be used, right? PM those vacuum cleaners. That's a simple thing that gets the department frustrated. Like when you have to actually vacuum, and then guess what? Then you have to go and use your room to go and pick up that stuff. It is annoying. It makes their job so hard.
I've seen housekeepers literally in tears when you hand them a new vacuum cleaner. And that's crazy. I mean, it should not be at that point where they are so excited to get a new vacuum cleaner that they're moved to tears. I mean, at that point, we're not doing our jobs as operators.
Yeah, and you're suffering on your service scores. You're suffering on guest experience. There's a lot of things that are happening behind it. You're suffering on labor. Mm-hmm. If they're brooming now after they vacuum, they're brooming. It's taking them more time to clean that room, and then you wonder why at the end of the week, why it's like 35, 40 minutes for the room. Exactly. Guess what? They had to go run next door to go borrow a vacuum, or a floor down or up, and go borrow a vacuum while they didn't have why they couldn't vacuum the rooms, right? So, huge opportunity there as far as what to do and keeping your team and treating them like customers. I love that. All right, so we have a bunch of other things, guys. If you love this conversation so far, and Charles has been amazing at this, and I can't wait to read your book, Charles. There's also some other things that we could talk about right now. So forecasting is huge. Like, right now, if you're open, hope you're still forecasting what's going on, right? Because it's not, forecast is going to help you in your supplies that you're ordering. Forecast is still going to be helping you in what's happening in the market. If they announce something in fourth quarter or next year, you need to be ready, and revenue management's a huge part of that. So hopefully you're not just setting and forgetting, but you're still looking out for those things that are potentially coming your way or your city. What else are you guys doing as far as forecasting?
So, one of the things that's just, and I think everyone can relate to this, is difficult, is this has never happened before. So, man, how do you forecast, especially the immediate future? It's tough. Yeah. So, we're looking at everything. Obviously, we got a great revenue management team on our side, and our director of sales is fantastic. Using a 5-year trend, I think, is huge as an initial guide, just to kind of see, where things are. But I think we can all be honest and just admit that right now this is a tough situation to forecast for right now. I don't think we really know where this is going to be, at least through the end of the year, I think.
Yeah. Have you pretty much just dropped your rates, or are you looking at it weekly? Because I think well, you're closed right now, but for a lot of hotels that are open, I think their booking periods, like the window is like 1 day or 24 hours or 3 days, right? Most. Or comment what you guys are doing in the comments. Let us know how you're forecasting and what you're looking at, or have you just set your rates at one rate, or based on your room types, of course. But have you just set it and kind of forget it for the entire rest of the year, or are you saying, hey, I'm gonna keep my rates high for a month out, but really manage them right now and look at my comp set and kind of look at where my market is and fluctuate based on that, and let us know what you're doing, because I think that's valuable. And then also, one thing, if you're open, for a lot of these hotels, where is their business coming from right now? So for our properties, we have a lot of construction workers. Construction's still going on. There's a lot of people that are still out in the workforce, traveling from door to door, doing these things that are kind of still in the sales part of their business, and they still need to travel. They still need to move from here to there. So we still have some of those people coming in. Charles, what are you hearing as far as that are calls that are coming in for the future?
Right now, obviously healthcare is huge. Our counterparts across the street are seeing some of that. Going forward, we're still getting some initial calls about weddings and things like that, but even some of that is up in the air in terms of sales and catering on those efforts. Some association business, I think, down the road is starting to consider coming back, and then hopefully, our bread and butter B&T or BT is going to start getting back in. We're looking at and watching closely what some of these major corporations are mandating in terms of travel and what they're allowing for, so we can be ahead of it. So, making sure that we have everything in place to make them feel comfortable when they do come here. We've had some initial requests already about, hey, what are you guys doing to ensure that the rooms will be clean and that the hotel is practicing social distancing. So I think those are going to be some new norms in the sales process that we have to be armed with. Maybe some nice collateral that's going to show, and we'll be able to provide, like, these are our new standards. These are our standards that we're following, because people are going to be asking for that.
Yeah, and I wrote down two things that are going to be huge. So two things that are going to be super valuable for guests that are coming in now. It's going to be technology driven, and it's going to be your cleaning protocols. I think it's going to be huge. Two things: technology and cleaning protocols are going to be huge for any hotel, no matter what size you are, no matter what kind of business that's coming in. Two things you have to kind of work on diligently, like keyless entry to come into your rooms. It might be an option for a lot of Marriott's and Hilton's and some of those brands. And then also, what are you doing for cleaning? I've had so many people send me messages now, like, "Hey, here's a new cleaning protocol that we're selling to the industry right now as far as an option." I've seen sprays, foggers. I've seen robots coming to the room and zapping the room. I've seen a lot of different things, a lot of cool things, like, hey, this makes people feel comfortable that their room has been sanitized. Are you guys doing anything like that as far as the cleanliness side?
Well, we will be. Obviously, we're not open yet, but one of the things that we keep hearing, and there'll be more direction, I think, coming from the brand, is that phrase "hospital grade clean," hospital level clean. That is going to be the new norm. And I read an article this morning. It was on Forbes, where Marriott is getting ahead of some of that, and going to be rolling out some new standards and expectations with ensuring that the rooms are hospital clean. We like to think that hotel clean is really clean, but I think we all have that mindset that hospital clean is that next level, and so we're going to have to be at that level. And there's things that I think we're all going to start considering, removing high touch items from the room potentially. Coffee makers, I don't know how that's going to go over, but I did read a recommendation that maybe things like coffee makers will be removed, going obviously to disposable glassware versus having the actual glassware in the rooms.
Yeah.
Minimizing staff interaction, packaging room service so that it's just left at the door. One of the things it talked about in the article, and by the way, I did not. They cited that Marriott's doing this. I haven't confirmed it myself yet, so I don't want to say this is Marriott's new standard. But
sure.
the thing that it talked about was providing the guest with bags when they check in for their soiled linen and terry, to bag themselves and then leave right on the inside of the door, so that when housekeeping comes through, they just quickly remove the bag. They're not entering the guest room really beyond just opening the door. So there's a lot of conversations that are going to be happening about what we need to do and how we're going to do it to ensure that we're making sure that the environment is safe for both the guest and our employees.
Right. Now, will guests appreciate that? Like, hey, these guys are taking extra steps to make sure that I'm safe, and then that room I'm staying in is kind of is safe too, right? To occupy.
I hope so, but I also know that and I know you follow a lot of different groups, and I do as well. And I don't have the luxury of being open, so I haven't experienced what some of the expectations are for guests right now. But I am reading a lot about how some of the guests that are staying still have the same expectations, if not beyond, that the fitness center should be open, that they should be getting housekeeping service every day. And I think at this point, most brands have eliminated at least stay over housekeeping service. Yet there's guests that are still asking and getting quite frustrated that they're not getting it. So I think there's just going to be a lot of, re-education and retooling of how we do business.
Yeah, and I think the expectations or the communication at the front desk during check-in is a huge part, and maybe even online before the booking process. Like, here is what we do to keep you safe. And I think that's part of the, it's actually part of the 51 things I mentioned on my checklist. Like, hey, update your website to kind of make sure your description's up to date of what your standards are. I think that's huge. And even your marketing, like if you put in your marketing that you're sanitizing, you're clean, you're some of these words that make a difference. Hospital grade. I wrote that down. Hospital grade cleaning, because I think people feel better that you're doing these things, and not just saying it, but you're actually doing it. I think it's super valuable. All right, so guys, have you guys liked this? We're approaching an hour now, and I've already written down a ton of different things. I have. So we have communication, training, empathy, which is we talked about. Forecast, inventory is huge. Like, have you guys done an inventory like as soon as you close to kind of understand where par levels are, and in different departments too, like your F&B side, what food you had to give away or throw away or whatever, and how is inventory working for you guys, Charles?
Yeah, we actually, obviously, we did a closing inventory of everything, so we know exactly what's on hand. We had a lot of perishables in the kitchen that we had to get rid of, which we were able to donate to charity and employees, which was nice. We have a lot of stuff in the freezer that should hold for quite a while, which, by the way, another part of that checklist every day, check the freezer, make sure that it's at temperature. The last thing you want to do is have your freezer go down and not know it's been down for a few days, because you're going to lose a lot of inventory. But yeah, we have inventories of everything. The good news is we're ready. We could open tomorrow. Honestly, I have everything I need at this point. We'd have to order some fruits and vegetables, but in terms of supplies for housekeeping and for the rooms, we're ready to go. But I am getting notices and emails from some of our vendors. Some things are harder to get, obviously. The food provider, the food distributor, has basically said our main focus right now is retail and healthcare. Those are the big areas that they're putting their energy towards. So your deliveries may take a little longer.
I think we lost him.
Which is understandable. You still there?
Yeah, we're still here. Sorry. Sure. Yeah, you saying that you're kind of going back to your food purveyor and kind of understanding what the process is and kind of understanding where they are as far as their distribution. And here's what I recommend, guys. If you know that in the next couple of weeks that you are going to or your county or your city or the states trying to open up again, I would definitely reach out to your food purveyors. And hang on a second, I think we're all right. Are you back?
Yeah, I haven't gone anywhere.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what's going on with it. Hey, maybe it's my kids taking up the bandwidth. Guys, chill out. We're still online. All right, good. We are still online. All right. So what I was saying is maybe we can contact our food purveyor, Cisco, whoever it is, that we say, hey, listen, what's going on right now? How is inventory for you guys? How is the availability for you guys? Because guess what? If you open up next week or in 2 weeks, you want to be ready with what you need. And if they're saying the restaurants can open back up and maybe there's a 6-foot rule or a distancing rule, at least you know that. Then you can base your inventory on that and be ready, because guess what? Cisco, US Foods, all these food purveyors are going to be hit hard to restock their entire inventory as far as F&B side. And you may not be able to get some of the things that you were hoping for. So this is a great time for you to reach out to them, say, understand, maybe even order a small amount of things just so you have it ready, because you're going to use it in the next 6 months, and you kind of know we're not wasting money, but we're going to make sure that we have that those things that we're communicating. What else do you recommend?
This probably the single best decision I had to make was right when this all started happening. I said, order triple the amount of toilet paper we need.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know how hard that's going to be getting that going forward, but at least we're prepared right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of hotels have done that, and their suppliers have been pretty useful, especially if they use a local one. We use a local one, and actually our local supplier, they actually started selling to the public, which was awesome because nobody could find toilet paper 3-4 weeks ago. But I think that now a lot of factories and suppliers have ramped up and they have plenty of supply. So I think they should be pretty good on that point. Also getting back into opening your hotel is getting your orders at least together and putting a budget together, so that way you know that you're going to be spending this much, right? I think that's powerful on your checklist. Also, your marketing. Like, what are you doing right now where are you going to focus on marketing when you open up? Because you're not going back to your old marketing plan that you had, right? Everything's changed as far as some of the channels that you may be working on, the yields that you might be getting from these different channels. I think is going to have to be re-looked at. Are you guys considering some of those things for the future as far as marketing?
Yeah, we rely a lot on the brand for our marketing initiatives, and we follow a lot of their direction. Obviously, it's one of the great things about being a part of the largest hotel company is we get to participate in some of those things. And I know right now, currently, they've kind of paused some things, but going forward, I mean, everything's on the table. Everything is fair game in terms of what type of business we're going to go after. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to see what's out there and see what starts coming back. My initial thought is that I think we'll start seeing some leisure. I know that people are itching to get to the beach here, specifically in South Florida. I am getting texts constantly. I heard the beach is open. Are you open? And the beach is not open here. It opened in Jacksonville, but it's not open here in South Florida yet. So, obviously, love them or hate them, third-party booking channels will be definitely something we're going to rely on. Always have, but probably going to rely on some of that heavily too. And there's going to be a lot of things that we have to evaluate.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these brands have paused a lot of their marketing, so it's going to be really local marketing that you're going to be doing and focused on, which kind of is disheartening because you're like, I just spent all this money, with this whole brand, and we rely on them to really get a lot of our business, and especially if you don't have a Marriott, maybe you have another brand that maybe isn't strong as far as their loyalty program that can just draw off of that. I think a lot of the local marketing that you're going to do on social media. And as part of that checklist, like, hey, here's the things that you should be doing as far as local, just building your own personal brand. And I think Google's going to be a big part of it as far as helping you attain some of these guests that are searching. I think there's a bunch of that. So sorry, go ahead.
I just say it goes back to what we talked a lot about today is the importance of your service, because We all know how much people rely on social media reviews, and I think people are they already are, but I think people more and more are going to really start combing through that stuff to find exactly where they're going to spend their dollars to take that trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been a great conversation, Charles. All right, we're going to give away the book here shortly, right, to the person for the few people that have been most engaging here on, and I'm going to go back through while Charles talks about his book and how we came about to be an author, and how'd you jump into that? Because I know being an author is a lot of work, and it's a lot of passion that you have to put into it, a lot of time, right? Just how did you get into writing the book? And please tell us the name of your book.
So the book's Thanks for Coming In Today, Creating a Culture Where Employees Thrive and Customer Service is Alive. You can get it on Amazon. There it is. I love to tell the story